So, good day everyone. So, I am Najir and I will be discussing my assigned topic which is in the lesson 14, Case Study as a Teaching Method. Strategy 5, Using Research as a Teaching Strategy. So, what is a case study? So, the use of case study is also called of method of teaching or case-based pedagogy, which is ito uh, yung case study is pwede din siya, isa din siya sa mga strategy na kung saan we're going to tell a story. So, a case study also has a different component which is the case itself, the students' preparations for engaging with discussing the case, which is yung pagbasa nila, pag-analyze nila sa case, at saka yung classroom discussion or yung presentation nila. So, a case is also a story na para din siyang story na may hidden message or may mga dapat tayong i-interpret or malaman dun sa story. So, it is a narrative that describe an actual or realistic situation in which an individual or group has to make a decision or solve a problem. So, yung case is it is a real life situation too, or it can be a fictionist or parang from a story from a past or real people pero ginagawa siyang present, or sometimes din is parang hinahaluan din siya ng fictionist. Then it can also yung case study din or case method din is pwede din siyang makategorize, which is they are different kind of cases that in terms of completeness and openness. So, first is the complete, which is the complete case is yan yung case na dinidescribe niya mismo yung situation, and ito din yung parang may real life conclusion na siya sa reality. Like, may solution na siya na nangyari na sa reality. Second is yung incomplete. So, ito naman yung case na real yung event or yung mga pangyayari or yung situation or problem, pero hindi dito naka-include yung real outcome niya sa, or parang hindi specific if na-solve ba to sa reality. Then, sa third naman is open, which is ito namang open is yan yung case na may mga madami yung pwedeng ma-solution dito, like yung case na problem is may mga madami yung solution na pwedeng ma-come up ng mga learner or pwedeng ma-recommended na ma-solve yung problem na yun. 4 naman is yung closed, which is ito naman na case na iisa lang yung solution na sa situation na to. So, next is when and why should case study be used. So, the case method of teaching can provide a very natural way of helping students to learn by exploiting the basic human capacity to learn from stories. So, according to Hagel and Julian, 1996. So, yung case study is yan yung isa din yan sa mga method para kumbaga is ginagamit ng teacher para maging natural yung pag-help ng mga teacher or ma-enhance yung critical thinking ng mga student, kasi at saka yung mga human basic skills nila, capacity nila, kasi na through case studies is na-enhance yung or nagkakaroon ng opportunities yung mga bata na ma-encounter yung mga different issues, problems, or dilemmas, or puzzles na they might encounter in real life. So, parang isa din siyang training na para maging prepared sila if ma-encounter nila man yung situation or yung problem na yun sa real life. Pero, ang pinagkaiba lang is safe siya kasi na more on like thinking siya. So, yung case din is na-encourage niya yung mga student na dig deeper or mas understand nila yung isang situation or yung concept or issue na by just reading or listening to the lectures. So, yung student din, yung case din is na-help niya din yung student na ma-appreciate yung mga situation or yung mga current theoretical kasi na through that is mas na-understand nila yung mga ill-defined problems or yung mga different kind of issues sa real lives. And pwede nila din ito ma-explain and pwede nila ito ma-understand kapag sa naka-base siya sa real life situation kasi na mas nakaka-relate sila doon. So, next is, let us move to the advantages and limitation of case studies. So, and using case study is, hindi siya, parang, not all of case studies is suitable siya sa lahat ng situation. It also has some limitation and dito sa nakashow na slide na to is nandito yung use case study if and do not use case study if, like ito yung mga situation na pwede natin i-use yung case study and dito naman yung mga situation na hindi natin dapat use yung case study. So let's first discuss the use case study if the outcome you want the student to achieve are readily related to the issues beyond the classroom. So yung dito naman is i-use mo yung case study kapag makarelate siya sa situation or issue. Then the learner have sufficient prior knowledge to the guide their analysis of complex material. So you're going to use the case study para mas if may enough background yung mga student dun sa situation. Then third is the student are self-motivated and can learn with minimal assistance. So parang ginagamit mo yung case study kasi na ginagamit mo yung case study kapag kunti lang yung needed na assistant ng mga student para mas ma-enhance yung mga critical skills nila or yung mga basic human capacity nila na thinking. Then next is you want to build the student confidence by showing the value of their individual solutions to problems. So, minimin naman dito is your, through that case studies is parang na-enhance yung confidence sa mga bata na mag-solve ng isang problem. Then next is you want to encourage the student to be independent learners. So, parang may pagkatulad din ito sa sinabi ko na the case study encourages the student na maging independent or magkaroon sila ng confidence na i-face yung isang solution. Then lastly, you want to foster critical thinking. So, yun nga, para more on like it is enhancing the critical thinking skills ng mga student. So, let us move on to the use case study if do not use case study if the student lack the basic skills to work independently or in school groups. So it means na wag mong use yung case study kapag yung student is hindi niya kaya mag-work or as an independent or sa small groups. The next is the student have very full literacy skills. So para mas madali is more on like kapag yung student is maliit yung comprehension nila sa mga literacy. Then, next is you cannot allow the students sufficient time to analyze the case studies. So, dito naman is kailangan mong i-consider din yung time kasi yung sometimes is yung mga case studies is nagko-consume siya ng mahabang oras. So next is the student lack background knowledge necessary for interpreting and resolving the case. So also when you are going to use the case study method is kailangan din is may prior knowledge mga bata about dun sa issue or may knowledge sila or background knowledge sila dun kasi pag literally na wala silang or they have a zero knowledge about that situation is mangyayari is parang hindi nila yun ma-answeran or parang mawawalan ng sense yung situation na yun. So, next is let us move on to the how to use case study as a teaching strategy. So, there are 4 different kinds of kung paano natin iti-teach yung case studies. So first is how to decide why and when to use. Second is developing or selecting the case. Third is guiding the student in the preparation for discussion. Fourth is preparing yourself for the classroom discussion. So, ang didiscuss ko lang dito is yung first, which is how to decide why and when to use the case study, kasi na yung second, third, and fourth is ang magdidiscuss is yung partner ko. So, when you are using case study, one of the first decision you have to make is whether you will use a case study to support what the student are learning. And another ways is kailangan kapag iti-teach mo yung case studies is may naka-set ka na goal kung ano yung gusto mong ma-learn ng mga student mo. So, for instances, as you will use the case to illustrate difficult issues or dilemmas in the same way that you might use less detailed examples to illustrate application of the theory. So, one of example nito is parang kapag mag-set ka ng goal, like, kumbaga is, di ba nag-set ka ng goal. So, kailangan mo din malaman kung ano yung instruction mo dito. If need ba ng mga student ng instruction na detail or guide, or kailangan mo pa mag-provide pa ng another additional info. So, the cases that you will need to be relatively short or straightforward. So, nakakapasok din dito yung kung yung case ba is gagamitin mo ba is parang short problem ba siya, or parang issue ba siya na malaki yung magiging discussion dito. So, tulad nung like yung mga issues sa mga articles or introduction, or like introducing more complex case studies. So, if you want the case studies to be main vehicles for the students' learning, then you will have to involve them in the analysis of more substantial case studies. So, of course, when you're going to introduce a case studies, pwede, mayroon niyang nakadivide yan sa prime dalawa, which is the prime vehicles for learning and the main vehicles for learning, which is yung prime vehicles for learning is yan yung sinasabi ko na magti-teach ka, you're going to give a short or more on, like, let's say, let's use the simple and complex na word, which is yung sa prime vehicles for learning is yan yung mga simple case studies. Then yung sa main vehicles naman is yan yung mga complex case studies. Kumbaga is doon sa prime is yan yung mga easy na case, then sa main vehicles is yan yung mga hard or difficult na case. So, let's move on to deciding to use a case study. So, as with all other teaching studies, the effective use of case studies require you to have a particular purpose in mind. So, of course, when you're going to use a case studies as a method of teaching, is kailangan is magkaroon ka ng purpose or goal sa kung anong gusto mo na ma-learn ng mga bata. So, dapat is clear yung dapat is before mong gamitin or ibigay yung case study is naka-clear na yun sa mind mo kung ano yung dapat na ma-learn ng mga bata, kasi na pwede yun, if not clear pa yung goal mo, is pwede yun maka-apekto din sa gusto mong maging outcome nung or ano yung magiging malalearn ng mga bata doon sa situation. So, kapag kasi may goal ka na, or may alam mo na kung anong purpose ng case, is pwede yun maging pwede yun makatulong kung ano yung mga, pwede mo malaman kung ano yung mga specific skills na malalearn ng mga bata through that situation or case studies. So, there are also two main reasons for using case studies. So, nahati ito sa dalawa, which is the motivate learning and the illustrate application. So, which is the motivate learning is yan yung case na you're going, it is a case na minomotivate niya yung student to learn theories. Then, illustrate application naman is ito naman yung nag-illustrate siya ng mga application of the theory. So, if you're going to use a case study to motivate the student for learning, is may mga basic steps yan. First is presenting the case to the student before they have received instruction on the relevant theory. So, tulad nga ng sinabi ko na yung kapag you're going to naahati yung paggamit ng case study, which is yung pag-motivate at saka yung pag-illustrate ng application. Sa motivate is more on like you're going to motivate or parang you're going to give an pinupukan mo yung interest ng mga bata or magka-interest sila dun sa situation. So first is before the presenting the case to the student before they have received instruction on the relevant theory. So or on like ibibigay mo na yung case study sa mga bata before ka magbigay ng instruction, kasi para ma-advance na makita nila yung situation or yung problem. Second is provide guidelines to help the student prepare for the class discussion by exploring the case. So dito naman is 'di ba yung case study is more on like mahirap siya. Then dito sa second is yung teacher is parang nagbibigay siya ng tips or gini-guide niya yung mga student. So third naman is give the student time to study the case and prepare for the class discussion. So dito is ang gagawin naman dito is yung teacher is magbibigay siya ng enough time or kailangan i-manage ng teacher yung time management para masakto yung or magkaroon ng time yung mga student na mag-prepare din. Fourth is guide the class discussion so that the student general list of questions that need to be answered before the problem in the case can be solved. So dito naman is ang gagawin ng mga student dito is magle-list sila ng mga question or ano yung mga problem na nakita nila, mga possible na problem na need ma-answer. Then fifth is conclude the discussion with an overview of how this question will be answered in subsequent lesson. So yun nga yung dito sa number 5 is magko-conclude ka na kung paano na-answer yung mga case, ano yung mga solution, paano yun na-answer. So now let us move on to the next, which is if you're going to use a case study to illustrate the application of the theory in the real world context, kung yung isa is para sa mga kung paano mo i-motivate yung mga bata, dito naman is paano mo naman i-use yung case study to illustrate the application, which is first is presenting the case to the student after they have received the instruction on the relevant theory. So kung yung sa motivate is ipa-present mo ng advance yung case study, dito naman dito naman sa illustrate or sa application of the theory is ibibigay mo ng una is yung instruction before yung case. Then, second is provide guidelines to help the student analyze the case, prove the underlying issues, select relevant theories to apply, and suggest ways in which the issues could be resolved. So, kung yung isa is, kung yung sa motivate is mag-provide ng tips yung teacher, dito naman is parang ahayaan nung teacher na yung mga student na yung mag-analyze dun sa case. Third is, give the student time to study the case and prepare for the class discussion. So, tulad din nung last is bibigyan mo ng enough time yung mga student para makaprepare sila. Then, four naman is guide the class discussion so that the student generate several possible alternative solutions, consider the relative merits in each sum, and reach some level of consensus, which is kung sa isa sa motivate is mag-list lang ng mga question possible na need na ma-solve dun sa isang problem or case studies. Dito naman sa application of theory is ililist ng mga student is ano yung mga solution na na-come up nila. Then, number 5 naman is conclude the discussion with an overview of the broader issues raised by the case. So, dito naman is, parang nagsasummary ka na dito, nag-explain ka na dito, paano isusolve yung paano mo, parang nag-explain ka kung ano yung issue, ano yung outcome ng issue. So, and that's all for my parts kasi ang next na part is ang magdi-discuss na nun is ang partner ko or the next reporter.